Soulless Dead, Chapter 9, The Library. After our little firefight ended on top of the roof and I collected myself, Orville helped me back up and we made our way down the steps. We had to pass right through our fallen friend and what was left of him. We made our way down towards where Jeff was with the gun. He was, of course, behind the pillar, keeping an eye out to make sure nobody else was around. Of course, again, other than the zombies, I don't think anybody in their right mind would come anywhere near where we were at. His eyes darted back and forth, searching for our fallen comrade, and before he could ask, Orville answered that we'd lost him on the stairwell, and an explosive went off, and, well, he took much of the blast and ended up inadvertently saving us. To be honest, with all the things that happened up top, I can't say I remember his name because I just lost it. Just went blank. It was like someone poured hydrochloric acid in the back of my head and I just went on a rampage. And I can tell you that I don't remember his name. I couldn't even... if you showed me him, I couldn't recognize him because I couldn't recognize his face anymore. Not since there was much less of him in the first place. We collected our things and we got back together and we decided to push on despite that. We took a quilt from out of the back of one of the parked cars and covered the couple that had died. Two innocent people dying like that, it wouldn't seem right not to give them some sort of a burial, if you could call it that. Of course, I could feel Orville's eyes piercing the back of my head even though he was stepping before me. I was wondering if he thought that I was a psychopath or just lost it in that situation. Did he understand or did he think less of me? That's what frightened me the most. What I was also worried about is, what if my father was here to see this? What would he think of this? I know he wouldn't be anything good. He was a man of peace and not a man of war or hate. Certainly not a man of whatever the heck I turned into. We made our way down the street and hugged the walls and the overhangs of the larger buildings, just to make sure that if there were any more of those crackpots with rifles up on top of the roofs, we wouldn't be in the sights, or at least it'd be a little more difficult to pick us off. We finally made it within a block's distance of our target. We noticed that some of the windows were boarded up with, rudimentary desks laid on their side. So it probably meant someone tried to fortify it in the past. Most likely meant somebody was there. So we had to play it really safe. We took turns making our way down the street just to be sure that all of us wouldn't be shot on spot. And we made our way towards the back. There was a small parking garage just adjacent to where we were at, and there was actually a service tunnel going into the library. Orville knew a guy that had worked there a long time ago that had gone through there and shipped in some books and also helped with some electrical stuff that was going on there a few years back. We made our way into the tunnel and sure enough the door was completely untouched. I'm sure the people that fortified it figured no one knew about it because clearly it wasn't protected at all. We opened the door quietly and snuck our way in and made our way up the small flight of stairs. As we were going up the stairs, I just broke down. It was like a lightning bolt struck the back of my neck. Everything went red. It was just like the stairwell in the building. And seeing our comrade just get blown apart. Of course, Jeff, not knowing what happened up there, picked me up and asked me if I was okay. I shook it off, grabbed my rifle, and we made our way back up the rest of the steps. I got a little worried in the back of my head, thinking that if it's starting now, then good God, I can't imagine what nightmares I'm going to have later. That's okay. That's what the bottle's for, I guess. We made our way inside and noticed that some of the bookshelves were overturned and messed up, and it looks like somebody had some fun in the library. We made our way to the back, and as we were turning a corner, we heard a gun cock, and we stopped. We turned around slowly, and we noticed it was a younger man and his wife, most likely, and another older man, and two younger ladies, most likely siblings. They looked similar. They told us to put our guns down and told us to step back. We told them that we're simply looking for books. We've been having medical problems, you see, in our group, and we explained that we had some sick people that they needed medical attention right away. One of them spoke up as he put his hand on the gunman's pistol and pushed it down towards the floor. He answered that he was a doctor, and he said that he could help. The other two sisters that were with him were nurses, and his wife was a dentist. Don't know if that could really help us at this point, but we definitely hit the jackpot. The guy that with the pistol was, of course, a security guard that worked there on the weekends. He made his way back there because he knew there was plenty of food in the back and a small cafe, much like a Starbucks. It was no Barnes & Nobles, but it was better than nothing. They had the supplies in the back room where the rest of them were. They didn't have a lot of guns, but they had sharp sticks. It was like something out of a caveman movie. They had been burning some of the more rudimentary children's books to keep warm at night, which was understandable considering that you have to do what you have to do to survive. They explained they'd been there for weeks and weeks. They had made their way there and because they had smelt fire. They figured one of two things was happening. Something was being burned down or there was food cooking, so of course they made their way there. And that's where they found our security guard friend now. Of course, having a doctor is a total asset. If you're not a doctor, then not a lot of use for you. But if you don't have anybody else, I guess you can't really doctor yourself. It was definitely a godsend, and they explained that they would be willing to go anywhere safer than this because they've been hearing gang violence going on in the back. They've been also hearing gunshots and, of course, those things at night making all that noise. I wouldn't blame them if they wanted to get out of there. So, what we told them was we had a truck down the way and that we needed supplies, so we had them grab some medical books that they could find, the nurses. The doctor, the security guard, Orville, and Jeff, we all got stuff together and all the food, put them into sacks that we had with us, duffel bags. It wasn't much, but it was enough to carry and enough to weigh us down a little bit. We then had the doctor's wife run back and help the women to get a couple books for medicine. You know, the big book of remedies and stuff. A lot of people used to make fun of them, but at this point, they're definitely a godsend to learn about. And we made our way out the front doors. As we were heading out, we saw a couple trucks stop by just a block down. Luckily, they didn't see us. They were getting out. It was that same biker gang. They were just running around and looking around, and they heard gunshots. We listened closely, and they noticed that people were getting shot, and they made their way to investigate. It was definitely a tense moment there because we didn't exactly have a lot of ammo. Looks like our old sniper friend on top of the building had shot off most of the rounds. I can't imagine he would have held out a lot longer, but then again, a man of his skill probably would have made it somewhere. Probably would have ended up killing everybody in the library, thus screwing us over asset-wise. We completely ignored them, but we knew that if we weren't careful, we would run into those people, so we took the next street over and made our way back. We were less than a block away from our target, and we had noticed that one of them was missing. We totally got scared. It was the doctor's wife. Her name was Tara or Tina or whatever. We made our way back, and we noticed that the lady had just looked down an alleyway like she was traumatized. But then when my eyes met where she was looking, I couldn't blame her. It was a small family huddled behind an old bin, an old dumpster. 2 little girls and a little boy, no more than 2, cradled in the arms of the mother and the father. There was no blood, and there was no shell casings anywhere, so we don't think they were murdered, but they were blue and cold. I don't know how they didn't die, but upon further inspection, we saw tablets in their mouth, and my guess it was cyanide. It killed them pretty quickly. The kids all died too. But it did make sense. Why didn't they turn? It was just like in the movies. Everybody has the virus, but I guess these people were lucky, could you say? The cringing on the kids' faces. It looked like their last moments on this planet were just painful. They say cyanide works within 1 to 2 seconds, but those 2 seconds must have felt like an eternity. I couldn't imagine having to tell your kids that they had to go forever. What kind of a lie they had to tell them that it was medicine to make them feel better, to make all the monsters go away. It's those little details that really get you going. It's those little details that really screw things up for you in your head, and the kind of details you want to ignore. We grabbed her by the shoulder and told her we had to leave. As we were going, she pulled away and grabbed some old sackcloths that were laying around them and covered them. It was just like the couple we covered a little bit ago. I have to be honest, if I was a parent, though, I don't know if I could kill my kid, even if I knew they had no hope. Of course, this is coming from the guy that just got done butchering somebody. But they were just kids. Little kids. I'm rambling. We got up, we paid our respects, and we made our way down the alleyway. It was a little bit longer, but we eventually got back to the pickup truck. We had noticed a couple of the gang members and we got low behind the truck. We didn't want to start it and get their attention. They started to make their way towards us, and I broke off behind a branch, a small little shrub that was overhanging, and I hid behind it. I made my way around them, and as the two of them were coming up to the truck and inspecting it, I made my move. I picked up my gun and I pointed at the back of them, telling them not to move. Jeff, of course, and Orville stood up, and the security guard, Todd or something like that, stood up as well, pointing their guns at them. They were the same stupid biker gang that had been giving us trouble and had been marauding around the countryside, killing people. Something had to be done about these people. It wasn't just me. I could see it in the other men's eyes. They had run into people like this. Of course, then again, the way I look at it is a good gang member is a dead gang member. These people have been getting away with murder, literally, and now I think it's time to stop this. I told them to get on their knees. They kind of laughed and smirked like we weren't going to do anything, like we were pansies, just like in the movies. It's funny how we can reference so much of the movies and how much of them are so very wrong. The other men came from out behind the truck and had the others stay low. They had their guns pointed close to their face, and one of the other ones started to panic. Thought he was actually going to die by their hand. Orville looked at me as I started to put my gun down and pulled my knife. His eyes got large, and he started to shake his head, very quickly telling me not to do it. As one of the older gang members started to look back, I grabbed him by the hair and slit his throat. I could hear the blood splatter against the ground as it misted everything, and then I could hear his throat gurgle, like he was gargling salt water or Listerine. And then a quick cough as the last bit of air was escaping his lungs as he tried to expel before drowning on his own blood. I kicked him to the floor, and the other man got scared. I told him not to say a word, and as he tried to fall back and crawl away from me, he was telling me not to kill him. He begged, "Please, please don't. I'm sorry, I'll give you whatever I have. Do you want cigarettes? Do you smoke?" I kicked him out of his hand. And as he was scooting back more, he fell flat on his back, and I stepped on one of his arms to pin him down. I pulled out my handgun and blasted his head all over the pavement. My breathing was heavy, and I think I'm starting to like it. Things make more sense when the bullets are flying by. Things make more sense when we make justice Things make much more sense when we do things and we take things into our own hands, it seems. What was that kid gonna offer anybody? I could tell he was one of those punk kids that ran around acting hard and tough, hurting and killing people. I guarantee you they made him do horrible things, and I guarantee he went right along with it. He can't justify it like I can. He's no better than me. And now, I made him out to be who he really was. Orville and the others came by and grabbed me. They said that they could hear trucks coming by and people yelling. It must have been the other gang members caught wind, but all I could do was look at him. As they were yanking and pulling me, I couldn't keep my eyes off of what was left of his face. Again, the heavy breathing. It felt kinda good.